is 5:30. Family time.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Love 101 FM. If you're joining on Facebook and YouTube, welcome also. It is family time. Now, family time is about your issues and your relationships. It's about your family abroad and abroad, your community family. Family Time is produced by Family Life Ministries, and our aim is to enable healthy families, which leads to a healthy nation. So, stay tuned with us on all our platforms. Friend us on Facebook at FLM-Family Life Ministries. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries FLMJA, and on Instagram. Keep up with all that's happening at simply FLMJA. Now, Family Time is a family program, but we'd like to caution you that on occasions, it may touch on what may be considered mature subject matters. Your discretion is advised. Now, for today, I am your host, Tamika Scott Walters. And as always, we're diving into an interesting topic. Now, we have a season of life that many families face, but not enough people talk about it. There comes a time when the roles between a parent and a child starts to shift, not necessarily because of illness or crisis, but simply because mom or dad is getting older. Maybe you're the child starting to help make decisions, or maybe you're the parent who is now beginning to lean a little more on the children. Can you relate? It's not always easy for the parent. It might feel like losing some independence for the child. It may be even overwhelming, trying to step into a new role while still honoring mom and dad or the one who raised you. It's a delicate balance, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And what we often forget is that both sides, parent and the child, are navigating these changes. It's not just one person who is adjusting, it's a whole family dynamics that's being reshaped. So, how do you handle this transition with grace and love? Join us today as we unpack today's topic, when the parent is no longer fully in charge. And we'll be doing that right here on Family Time, where we talk real talk. We want to ask you today's question. What was the most difficult adjustment you had to make as the new parent or as the new child? Please send us your answers via WhatsApp text, and you can also send voice notes. Please keep them 30 seconds or less, and to send to 876-997-3125. You can also give us a call on our studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 8328. You can also watch on our social media platforms, Facebook or YouTube, and get to ask our special guests the questions that you have. At this time, we will go for a break, but call a friend, tell them Family Time is on. See you soon.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, we will be celebrating men in education. There are fewer males than females teaching in our educational institution. However, men in education play a pivotal role in shaping the next generation of leaders, thinkers, and citizens. You're invited to join our Teachers' Day special with guests Reverend Philip Cardis, HFLE teacher at Homewood Technical, Mr. Roberta Foster, Mount Alvernia Preparatory and Kindergarten School, and Reverend Randolph Richards, counselor at the University of Technology, Western Campus. The mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fosrich Company Limited. That's Wednesday, May 7th at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station. Love 101, the mailbox, Monday.
God, when you hear the trumpet or the flute, know it's a battle.
Welcome back to Family Time on Love 101 FM, and a very special welcome to our guests today. Now, our very special guest today, we have three guests on for today. We have Angelica. Just checking. Angelica, are you there? Okay. No, so we will move to Rashid. We have Rashid Perry and Leslie Ann Thompson. Now, both are children who have taken over responsibility of a parent or two. Rashid, Leslie Ann, welcome. How are you today?
Doing good. Thanks for having us.
Yes, and I'm doing very well as well. Thank you.
All right, great to have you. Now, listeners, today's topic is for you if you want to share or you can learn. It's a role that some of us are already facing as times shift, and for others of us, we may engage with it sometime in the future. So remember, our question or feedback question to you today is what was most difficult to adjust in your role as the new parent or as the new child? Remember, you can send us your WhatsApp text or voice notes, and you can send them to 876-997-3125. Remember to keep your voice notes 30 seconds or less. And you can also call our studio lines at 876-968-8327 or at 8328. Also, comment on our social media platforms. We are on Facebook and YouTube Live. So, the reality is that one day the child, as the adult, will realize that the parent who has always been independent may now be dependent and in need of care, nurturing, supervision, and guidance. The parent will realize that the child has now taken on what was previously their role. For an adult child, it can mean losing a sense of security that comes with an hierarchical family structure. It can also prompt some new difficult responsibilities. Let's start with the role of the adult child. So, I want you to share with me, Rashid and Leslie, as the adult child. When or how did your role change?
Want-
Um, Leslie, go first.
It's Leslie Ann, actually.
Oh, Leslie.
My dad is Leslie, so that's a little bit tricky. So I think it depends on various contexts. I think for most people, it changes gradually as our parents get older, or whether it's another family member that you're taking care of. And in some instances, it could be a dramatic event. So something happens and the parent is just incapacitated temporarily or for a longer term, and then you just have to step in and take over. So I think it's going to be different for everybody. In my case, my parents are 94 and 88 years young. So we're blessed to have them around still, but it was more of a gradual change in terms of my dad. But with my mom, she had a stroke. And that sort of just was like our dramatic event, and things kind of changed drastically there. So that was my take. Rashid, you
Yeah,
can.
thank you, Leslie and Rashid. You can share now.
Sure. So I agree with Leslie Ann, and my mother's probably listening and she's going to kill me. But um, I think there is that aspect that we're not prepared for, that there's this transition from child to adult, and then being an adult, taking care of your parents. Now, I'm still in that transition phase where I am responsible for my mother. Um, she's able to do anything that she wants to do, but in terms of her finances, I'm there for her 100%. But we're in that transition phase of, butting heads sometimes, disagreeing a whole lot of times. Um, but it's been an adjustment and a learning experience. And it's something that we're not totally prepared for. We grew up seeing our parents as our parents all the time, but then you watch them change, and inside you do feel sad because they're not the same persons that you grew up knowing. But then the roles start to shift where you're taking more and more responsibilities for them. And that's how it has been for me. So I'm right in the middle of the transition at the moment.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you both for sharing. So I understand, based on the experiences you've shared, it can be something that happens based on an illness in the case of Leslie Ann's mom. And then, of course, as they get older, as the case with her dad, it progresses. Now, I want to know, with this ultimate change, is this something we kind of decide in the moment, or are there normally plans that are made ahead? And if so, even as it comes, whether it's there was something that we had, planned, this is what we're going to do when we get to this stage, or even if it happens in the moment, who ultimately decides on what will change? Who plays what part?
That's a good question. I think, so at least for me, there was no plan. There was nothing written, nothing said. At least for me, I felt it was my responsibility to do that and be there. It's not a requirement for children to, automatically take care of their parents. But at least for me, my mother has sacrificed a lot to get me to where I am. I mean, I'm all the way at New York University doing my PhD. And it was because of her and my dad that, got me to this point. So at least for me, there wasn't a plan, but whenever things would happen, I would be the one to step forward to take the full responsibility and, step forward. Um, Rather recently, my mother had an issue with her eyes where I woke up one day and she couldn't see. At the time, I was working at the University of Technology. I was lecturing there. And, when she called me immediately, I dropped everything. I was there. I handled everything, took her to all the doctor's visits until we were able to find a solution and get her back to where she is. And it's since then that I took it upon myself to retire her and become fully responsible for her going forward. So, at least for me, there was no plan. But when things happened, at least for me, I just felt that it was, I've taken this responsibility to do these things for her.
All right, thank you so much, Rashid. We are going to go for a break. And when we get back, we will hear from you, Leslie. We'll be back soon, listeners.
Jamaica, it's your turn to triple the blessings. Saturday, May 24, Randy Williams Entertainment Center, and Sunday, May 25, West Jamaica Conference Auditorium. Performances by the Foster Triplets. 4 days late, Karen Peck and New River, Joan Myers, and saxophonist Ricky Niles. For more ticket information, visit thefostertriplets.com. Call or WhatsApp 876-478-3604. Triple the blessings. Kingston, May 24, Montego Bay, May 25. Part proceeds in aid of the Jamaica Christian School for the Deaf and the Salvation Army School for the Blind.
You don't need a special place, we active. Bedroom, living room, work, office. Move after every hour sitting. You don't need the gym to do your thing. You want to feel good, move at least 30 minutes a day. 60 minutes if you want to lose weight. Jamaican people make we start moving because we want long life. Where we want long life. Where we want long life. Where we want long life. Move at least 30 minutes a day.
Brought to you by Jamaica Moves, a program of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Saturday, May 10 is Move for Health Day. CC Winans brings her More Than This tour to Jamaica, joined by Chevelle Franklin, Kevin Downswell, Prince Sar, Jean-Marc Wigan, MCs IT and Nadine Blair. Tickets are going fast. General 6,000, VIP 20,000, VIP 32,000. Limited time offer now. Get your tickets at select locations island-wide or online at sparopen.com. Follow at More Than This Jamaica on Instagram for more details. CC Winans, More Than This, King's House, East Lawns, Friday, August 1. Are you ready?
Welcome back, everyone. This is Family Time on Love 101 FM. Our very special guest today, we have Rashid Perry and Lesley-Ann Thompson. And if you're just joining, we are talking about when the parent is no longer totally in charge. Now, we want you to answer the question, what has been the most difficult adjustment for you, whether as the new child or as the new parent? Remember, we want you to send them to us via WhatsApp, text, or voice note. Now, before the break, Rashid had shared his process of transitioning. It wasn't planned. It was kind of a go with it moment. And he assumed the role, took charge, made the decision. Lesley-Ann, I'm going to ask you to share for us. Was your journey somewhat planned to say, okay, when we get to this stage, this is what we'll do? And are you the spearhead? Are you the person who is solely in charge now?
Okay. I echo a lot of what Rashid said, to be honest. I think he captured a lot of the sentiment that's involved, you know, getting used to the change and the new hierarchy, so to speak. But I think ultimately, I think it should be like a partnership. I think we should treat caregiving as a partnership between yourself and your parents, because I think it's important that they are a part of the decision-making process for as long as possible. If the parent has cognitive skills intact and is not putting themselves at risk, I think as the child in the scenario, we should let them be a part of all the decisions. However, if there is a situation where that's not the case and the cognitive skills are in decline, you may have to step in. So as we like to say, hindsight is 2020. I agree. We didn't have a plan either, much like Rashid shared earlier, but I would encourage your listeners out there that if God grants us long life, we all should have a plan, because there is going to come a day where you're going to have some sort of caregiving arrangement for your seniors. So setting up things like health proxy, like somebody who can make decisions if you're not, and having power of attorney in place are some of the legal ways you can plan for this. So while the parent is not in any trauma situation, they can share with you how they'd like their affairs to be handled, etc.
All right, thank you so much. I wanted to ask, because I know as you shared, your experiences were similar. I know sometimes it differs when we have a case of an only child versus when we have multiple siblings. So I will ask, are you both the only child?
No, I'm not. I forgot to answer that part of your question. Sorry. There's three of us, but primarily my brother doesn't live in the same area. So my sister is the primary caregiver. and I share that responsibility with her. It was a lot easier over the last couple of years when we had more flexi time and work from home schedules. But now that I've been called back into the office, the things have shifted again slightly, and I'm not able to help out with appointments as much as I could in the past. But we did try to juggle. We still do try to juggle things. So just today I was on the phone. My mom had a cardiologist appointment, and I was with her on the phone via transportation to the doctor's office. I missed the actual call with the doctor, but sometimes we have to do phone instead of in person. But yes, in my case, I am not the sole caregiver or the primary.
Okay, thank you. So your decisions then, Leslie, and just a follow-up, your decisions can be, how do you juggle it? Is it that one person spearheads the decision and everyone else kind of takes their role, or do you all come together, all your siblings, and decide this is the way forward?
Well, to be honest, I've been blessed. I'm from a very close-knit family, and there's never been any bickering where this is concerned. We put our parents first. So my sister and I, who do the primary part of it, we are totally on board. We download after each appointment. If she takes one, she lets me know what happened. And if I take one, we share the information right away. Sometimes all two of us are in the office or on the phone together. And there are other ways you can share information too, in terms of Google Docs or however, or folders that you share if you're not into digital file formats, so that we can all be apprised of what has happened on the last appointment. Because to be honest, it's a lot to keep up with, especially if there are multiple doctors involved.
It is. All right, thank you so much. Rashid?
All right, so I'm the only child.
Okay.
I think for me, again, people always say once you're only child, you get everything, which is true. You get a lot of things, but you have a lot to carry at the same time. And there's a unspoken burden that comes with it, because you want to be there for them and do everything for them. But at the same time, as Leslie Ann was saying, they're their own individual people. They have their own behaviors, personalities. So I think that has been the difficult part, in trying to be there for them, but at the same time, trying to make a way for myself as a budding professional. So, it does come with its downsides, but what I can say is that so far, knock on wood, I've been blessed to do a lot for her. She does have a close-knit family, so their family, their friends. My best friend is a anesthesiology resident at UWI, so he checks on her all the time. So I'm always kept updated as to what's happening. And she's probably listening now and knowing that I have spies around, but hey, I have to keep tabs on what's happening so that I can, be in the know as much as possible, because I don't have siblings around to really help. And then being so far away doesn't help. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And what was important was that the foundation of what you both spoke to was support. In the case, Leslie Ann has a close-knit family and has siblings. In your case, they're friends, good friends and family. But what it really shows is that the role requires support. That's best.
Absolutely. And Tamika, I forgot to answer the decision part of the question too. Thankfully, my brother was a nurse for years, so he has a medical background. So even though he's not physically close to us right now, in terms of decisions, when we sometimes get diagnosis or treatment options, we run things by him on the phone all the time and say, hey, this medication was what they've recommended. What are the pros and cons? So that's also good to have, as Rashid said, somebody who has some sort of medical, background, whether it's a friend or a family member, and that can help you weigh in on your decisions as well.
Yeah, I'm happy you both have that available to you, because we know not in all cases that is present. Even the support that we're discussing just now, whether from family or from friends. It's not always present. And so I'm happy that is the experience you both share. And Sir Rashid, congratulations to you also on your PhD journey. Wishing you the absolute best. Now, I have a question that I really want to ask, and I'll tell you because I think about my own parents, and I can tell you, I hope my mom's not listening, but I think she'll be the most difficult. So my parents are in their 70s and 80s. And I think my dad, they say he's difficult, but I kind of have my way, easier to get to him. What I want to know, how do you handle the shift in independence for the parents? Remember, this is the authority figure, and I can tell you my mom she was that person over me. How do you handle the shift and at the same time still try to maintain that sort of respect? The dynamics has shifted, but you want them to still feel that feeling that they are still the parent. Because I know many times they'll see us as their forever child, no matter how old we are. So how do you handle that?
Rashid, you want to go first or you want me to go?
All right, you can go.
Okay. Delicate question. I understand what you mean 100% in terms of personalities playing into it. But I think a couple of approaches I'd suggest. I think first of all is always try to help them retain their independence. I mean, try and support, don't take over, because you can encourage them to do what they can do for themselves, and then you just help as well. So that means they retain some autonomy and not feel like they're totally dependent is one thing. I think also recognizing the emotional impact that they're going to be having, and as well as yourself, because it's a change in dynamic, and sometimes people may grieve that loss or that independence, or some people may have different feelings altogether, and some people can feel vulnerable or exposed. Sometimes they get a little defensive and feisty, so, or just resistant to being managed. In my situation, my dad is the one who is more resistant because, Caribbean men, and grew up in an era where they are the ones in charge of the household. It's hard to adjust to say, hey, dad, maybe you can try this, or maybe it's more of a massaging than a telling in my case. Whereas with my mom, I mean, she still calls us baby in my grand old age myself. But as you said, we're always their children. But she has adapted a lot better, I think, to the change in dynamic. But it's a constant work in progress. And I think working together and treating it as a partnership is important.
All right. Rashid?
I got the same thoughts as Leslie. I think my mother and I have had a lot of conversations. We disagree a lot. I'm going to be honest. We fight a holy. But I think what you have to learn is to listen more to the needs and wants of your parents and then adjusting. I know sometimes we want to do everything for them, but just as Leslie had said, you still want to maintain your independence. I joke with her all the time. I tell her the saying, once a man, twice a child. And, she not like to hear that. She don't like to hear that. She said, Rashid, I'm me the parent, you are the picnic. We don't know what you're talking about. Right. And as she ages, at least for Jamaicans, your child is always a child. That doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the interactions with our parents changes. So we have more real heavy conversations with them. But as children, I believe that we need to listen more so that we can really understand where parents are coming from and how we can help them.
Agree that. Yeah. And just rather than trying forcing ourselves, just enter the conversation with from a place of love and concern, not control.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. You heard it from Leslie and Rashid. Enter the play from a place of love, not control. This is Family Time. You are live. We are live on Love 101 FM. And Family Time is produced by the Family Life Ministries. We want you to share with us based on today's topic. So our question is, what was the most difficult for you to adjust as? Was it for the new role as a parent or as a child? So please to send us your WhatsApp text or voice notes. Keep them 30 seconds or less, and you can send your WhatsApp to 876-997-3125 or give us a call on our studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 28. Now, we are going for a break, but we will be back soon. Stay with us.
I'm Itana, and human trafficking is everybody's business. Call 1-888-PROTECT to report suspected cases of child trafficking.
The time by the Ministry of National Security is...
It is now 6:01 p.m.
Still wondering what to get mom this Mother's Day? Then light up her life, literally. Now through to Sunday, May 11, Phosphorage brings the glow with hot deals on chandeliers, wall lamps, ceiling fixtures, and more. Brighten her space and her smile. But hurry, just like Mother's Day, these savings won't stick around. It's the Mother's Day lighting sale at the Lighting World by Phosphorage. Shop now, only at Phosphorage.
CC Winans brings her more than this tour to Jamaica, joined by Chevelle Franklin, Kevin Downswell, Prince Sarge, Jean-Marc Wigan, MCs IT and Nadine Blair. Tickets are going fast. General 6,000, VIP 20,000, VIP 32,000. Limited time offer now. Get your tickets at select locations island-wide or online at sparopen.com. Follow at More Than This Jamaica on Instagram for more details. CC Winans, More Than This, King's House, East Lawns, Friday, August 1. Are you ready?
Welcome back to Family Time. You are tuned to Love 101. Now, at this time, we want you to call a friend, tell a friend, let them know that Family Time is on and that we are discussing today's topic, when the parent is no longer totally in charge. Now, we want to get a word in from Rev Mike in today's episode of WTF, Words to Flesh Moment with Rev Mike.
When I was a young adult, God granted me the early success of a job, a car, and an apartment. I asked my father, who was a pastor, to bless the apartment. So my parents, along with me and my friends, had a time of fellowship and then a prayer of blessing. As we all said amen, my father turned to me and said, "Son, this apartment is an extension of your family home. Give your mother a key." I had left the care and authority of his home, but for him, father, mother, and child were eternal concepts, despite the change in circumstances. The Bible says, "Honor your father and your mother." So I honored them by giving my mother a key, giving her access to my apartment at any time. The benefit I found was that sometimes I would come home after a hard day of work to a clean apartment with food prepared and a note from her that said they had passed through and she had tidied up a bit. By this time also, my job enabled me to contribute to them by paying the mortgage on my parents' home, lifting a significant load from my father's shoulders. Children are a gift from God, declares the Bible. This is a concept that children are a blessing from God to adult parents. It goes on, they are his reward. The Hebrew word for reward has a deeper connotation of posterity or continuance or addition to the lives of parents. When we have these two principles work in tandem, it's a perfect balance. It is inevitable that circumstances and roles will change as we age. What must never change are the values of honor, respect, and love that we have for each other. If those remain strong, Parents and children will survive any changing roles and circumstances. I'm Reverend Mike from Fellowship Tabernacle, and we just had a WTF moment.
Thank you, Rev Mike. Now let's welcome back our special guests, Rashid Perry and Lesley-Ann Thompson, who are both caring for their parent and parents respectively. If being a parent is the hardest job in the world, then being a caregiver to your parent, is possibly way harder. With this role comes many legal, financial, health, and familiar responsibilities. I'm thinking it covers everything that's physical, emotional, spiritual. How do we make them live in harmony with us juggling all the various roles and at the same time having them know that they are still the parent and we are still the child? And that's what we were discussing before we went to the break. Leslie, I am going to ask, how does the child make sure that the respect is maintained? Now, I'm going to ask you for maybe some tips and tools in very specific ways, because I think I need it. I went on the road this Saturday with my mom, and I think she's still independent. She still works. She's past retirement age, but she still decides to work. And it was very challenging to get her to come back with me, because she independently decided it would be best for me and the bag and pan and everything to pack up and go, and to leave her because she wasn't finished walking. That's a reminder about the hip pain and the foot pain that you're going to tell me later that you're feeling. So I think it is best you come with me right now. So let me know, how much more can I take it, and how help me get out of it, Leslie? I need your help.
Listen, I'm telling you, I'm chuckling because I don't know about Rashid, but we still struggle with that today. It's a delicate balance, and I don't think we'll ever 100% get to that point. All I can say is, just continue to support, don't take over. Let them do what they can do, and celebrate the strength. So if she likes to go shopping or whatever and she's not endangering herself, you have to maybe just give her the space to do that. Whether it is, some small victories. Like my mom today, none of us were able to go with her into the cardiologist's office like we have been doing for the past couple of years. But she was able to do it. She came out and she gave us an update. So both my sister and I said, hey, you put on your big girl pants today. You did quite well, and I know that got her feeling a sense of pride and all of that. So celebrate the strength. And as Rashid had said earlier, continue to listen and listen, take the time to hear their concerns, their frustrations, and see how you can pivot and adapt your own approach and behavior. And as much as possible, continue to involve them in the decisions, because that loss of independence is a scary thing to have to deal with. And I think it has to be done just with love, patience, and respect.
Thank you. I'm making notes. I really have to make notes, because as you mentioned, this is something that many of us face one way, sometime or another. And it really is a blessing when we are children and we have parents who are alive. When you said the age of your parents, Leslie, and I am thinking, I said a little prayer. I want to experience that. I know it's going to come with a little challenge and sometimes pushback, but I want my parents to be blessed with that good long.
Yeah. Sorry, can I just say one more thing too, in terms of maybe tangible advice? If there's ways that you can help them help themselves with maybe tools or assistive devices too, that can also help to retain the autonomy. So a simple thing like getting medication straight, getting an organized pill box that is for a week and has the morning, afternoon, evening, so that the confusion around pills may not happen. Things like that. Another thing my sister and I have done for our parents is setting alarms on their phone to remind them when to take their medication. Because
Yes.
sometimes if you're not at home or there's no in-home caregiver, you're at work, they maybe get caught up in doing stuff and forget to take them. But if you have the alarm go off and say, hey, it's time for me to take my morning medication, those are just simple things that can be applied practically.
Yeah, I love that. We presently do that with my dad. Have the alarms go off on the phone for him to remember. Okay, and we do have the organized pill bottle from Sunday to Saturday as well. So yeah, those are helpful tips. It's it's new for them. The roles have been reversed or the tables have turned. So I know that it's not going to be easy, and change is never easy, especially when it's like you're now moving from the seat of the decision maker. That's a big one for decisions to be made, and not at all times you play a part. So we really have to, as you say, support their strength in various ways. Now, I really wanted to ask you both as it pertains to mental state, the mental and emotional state, how do you keep a check of that to know that, okay, because I know sometimes too, as parents become older, they also don't want to become a burden to us. They don't want us to think as if, they are taking over our lives. They still want us to have all the freedom, love, liberty, everything they want for us good to live independent lives. And they sometimes have those thoughts. How do you keep a check of their mental and emotional state so that you can step in if needed and you can redirect them to know that this is coming from a place of love and it's okay?
I
Rashid, do you want to
think,
go first on this one?
sure, I'll take this one. I think one key part of it is really reassurance. Um, my mom and I we have these conversations from time to time about, her sometimes feeling as if, she may be a burden or she doesn't want me to be stressed or tired. But having that constant dialogue, just reassuring her, letting her know that, I'm not tired. I'm happy that I'm able to do these things for you. I'm happy that I'm able to take care of you and really check in because for a lot of our parents, they still have that independence. And a lot of our Jamaican parents, because they are parents, they will hold on to a lot of things and not tell the children. And each time we speak, I encourage her to tell me exactly what's going on, what's happening, and don't be afraid to tell me. If anything happens, you can talk to me. And I think that's that transition where a lot of us fall into as we progress, in that, our parents may not initially are willing to share things with us, but the more you speak to them and listen, really listen, and reassure them, the more they'll open up and share things with you so that you can comfort them as they go on. One key thing that I've done for her every time to make sure that she's reassured and her mental state as well is explaining things, simple things. When she has a prescription or her medical condition, just taking the time to talk to her, explaining things really helps, makes her feel reassured that everything is okay. I mean, my mom is living with hypertension. Sometimes she might, feel a little dizzy, and immediately she go up on Google and she left on Jesus Christ, mega dead now, and then she starts stressing over everything else. And then after speaking to her, she's like, oh, okay. I don't need to stress then. What am I stressing about? And then you can just feel this relief coming from her just by me sitting down, listening to her, and reassuring her that everything is okay. So I think we really need to do that with our parents. I know it's not planned, but listen. And as Leslie was saying, go from a place of love and not control. And that way you'll be able to make sure that, hey, they're getting older, but you're still treating them as your parents, you're loving them, you're taking care of them, and making them feel whole.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rashid. We are actually heading into our final break. This is Family Time on Love 101 FM. You can listen and join on our YouTube and Facebook page. Family Time is produced by the Family Life Ministries. And our feedback question for today is, what was the most difficult adjustment for you? Was it the role as a new parent or as a new child? Send your responses to us via WhatsApp, text, or voice note. Remember to keep them 30 seconds or less, and you can send to 876-997-3125 or give us a call on our studio lines at 876-968-8327 or at 8328. Now, we want to hear from you when we get back at the end of this break. So please be sure to answer today's question.
CC Winans brings her more than this tour to Jamaica, joined by Chevelle Franklin, Kevin Downswell, Prince Sar, Jean-Marc Wiccan, MCs IT and Nadine Blair. Tickets are going fast. General 6,000, VIP 20,000, VVIP 32,000. Limited time offer now. Get your tickets at select locations island-wide or online at sparopen.com. Follow at More Than This Jamaica on Instagram for more details. CC Winans, More Than This, King's House, East Lawns, Friday, August 1. Are you ready?
Be in the know. Learn how local government is working for you. Follow us on Instagram and X at LocalGovJA and on Facebook at Ministry of Local Government and Community Development. The time by the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development is...
It is now 6:17 p.m. Welcome back to Family Time. Now, before we go back to our guests, I want you to remember that we have 2 books from the Family Life Ministries, and they are on the shelves available for you today. The first is Answers to Questions Parents Ask, and the second is Questions on Love, Sex, and Marriage. You can purchase from Brian's Bookstore, the Jamaica Baptist Union Bookstore, or Source of Light Bookstore. But wait, there is also a third book, and that is Before They Say I Do, the questionnaire and manual. And this one is specifically for counselors, psychologists, pastors, and marriage officers. All 3 books are available through the Family Life Ministries also, so you can call them at 876-920-1034 or at 876-926-8101. All right, so we are wrapping things up and we're almost at the end of today's interesting topic, when the parent is no longer totally in charge. And our special guests today are Rashid Perry and Leslie Ann Thompson, who have graciously assumed the new role as the new parent. Now, before the break, Rashid, you shared with us. So I'm going to ask this one. I'm going to ask you, Leslie Ann. This one goes to you. In instances where things have to be taken away from them, maybe dad doesn't get to drive again as he normally does, or perhaps you don't want to have mom by the stove preparing a meal or going somewhere alone. How is that done? How is it accepted? And how can we do it so that it comes with less resistance?
As again, continuous work in progress, because that's just a big moment. I mean, it's emotionally, it's a huge shift. They've been the ones in charge for so long, and now suddenly, they're the ones, they're losing some control. And as you said, also want to still not be a burden to you. So I think it's really, hopefully, the parent will sometimes admit when it's time, and it might look different for different people. For example, in the case of driving, my mom was never a lover of driving, to be honest. So she voluntarily gave up her license, and we didn't have to push her into that. My dad, he maintained his for a while, but he also isn't driving anymore. So we didn't have to deal with that hurdle. I think in terms of making the appointments and being an advocate in the different sessions with the different doctors, they both realize that there's a lot of detail involved, and sometimes you can easily forget when you have different medical providers and it's not just one primary doctor dealing with you for everything. So in those instances, I think stepping in and helping to build trust and guide them along will be beneficial. Start, whenever, help them feel less overwhelmed and less confused or anything. And I think those are some of the ways that you can build the trust. And I also feel that your relationship with your parents now, before this starts to happen, is also so important, because if you already have that bond and that credibility and that trust, when you move into this new life stage, it will be a little of an easier transition overall. So I would just encourage anybody listening now to make the most of the time you have with your parents while, everything is as it used to be, or, before you get into the new normal.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Leslie Ann. Rashid, I'm going to ask you, what advice can you give to children who are either taking on the role that yourself and Leslie Ann are now playing, or to at least prepare us for if by God's grace we get to that stage?
What I'll say is, and that sigh isn't because it's a lot of work. It's just that once you become an adult, you have to start thinking about your parents and what you'll be able to do for them or with them as they age. It takes a lot of patience. Let me repeat, a lot of patience, because again, for a lot of us, our parents still view us as children, right? So it's like when you're speaking to them, it's like they're seeing the 5-year-old you talking to them, not realizing that you're 36. And I think just being able to really listen and really pay attention to their concerns, no matter how small it is. Anytime on the day them call you, pick up the phone, text them back, let them know that you're still thinking of them and that you still love and care for them. Because for a lot of times when we get to adulthood and we leave, there is an emptiness that they are left with, that you're not there anymore, like physically. And that, if not, you know, focused on or developed, can lead to a lot of distance between child and parent, and a lot of mental stress on them and for yourself as well. It can be quite heavy if not nurtured the right way. So start really early, as Leslie Ann said, start nurturing that bond. Learn to be friends with your parents. I know this is probably something controversial, but learn to really be friends with your parents so that they will talk to you
Yeah.
and say, hey, Rashid, say, my lick up my uncle today and I'm in terrible pain. Or Rashid, you know, I need you to take care of this or that. But we really need to be friends with our parents. That's gonna be hard because, I'm in that phase. My mom is like my best friend, but at the same time, she's still my mom. So sometimes I'm afraid to approach her about certain things. But I think with time, as you age, you become more and more open to having these conversations and really talking to your parents, like level with them, be
Yeah,
upfront with them, and that works.
I love that. I love that, Rashid. And I chuckled to myself because when you said be friends, I'm thinking for real, as Kathy said, it's okay to be friends later in years, because I'm telling you, I'm hearing my mother's voice saying, "Me and a friend."
Yes.
I I'm thinking this is something to aspire to. I mean, for old age, when your parents get to that good old age, we can
Yes.
finally think it is
Yes.
okay. Because
Hmm.
they're always, I mean, I hear the voice, you're the pitney, I mean,
Hmm.
parent, and it
Yes.
doesn't go any other way. I know you have new age parenting and all these stuff, but I can tell you, my parents, especially my mom, never subscribed to that friendship.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Now that they're getting to an older age, and
Yes.
I'm truly thankful for that. And as we shared tips earlier about how it is that the parents, well, the children taking on the new role as parents, some of the things they can do. I can tell you that I have to give this one credit to my sister. So my older sister, Odette, she got us all involved in I think it's Live 360, a sharing circle for our location.
Yeah.
And I can
Yeah.
tell you that my parents are all on board, but my mom, she loves it. She loves the ability to track us all and to know exactly where we're located. And sometimes she calls and says, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "Mommy, I know you don't need to ask me where I am, because I know you're sitting down watching me exactly where I am." So the same place that you see me, mommy, that is exactly. So I mean, it gives them some amount of control, and that's
Yeah.
something that parents still always want to have. Because my mom
Exactly.
always wants to know exactly where we are, why you're on the
Hmm.
road so late, why you love street at night. Mind you,
Hmm.
it's 8 or 9 o'clock. It's not. It's not
And then
late.
you're like, "Mommy, I'm an adult." And then again,
Exactly.
but you're still me pick me and me carry you come here.
Exactly. I mean, I know. I don't even tell her that part, Rashid. I don't even tell her that I'm an adult, because it has no value, please. I sometimes
Hmm.
want to say I am married and I'm grown and I have children, but I know
That doesn't
better.
mean anything to them. You're still their
No.
baby. Um,
Yeah.
I just had one more thing to add. I know we're running short on time now, but I really support what Rashid said 100%. We have to meet them with patience, not pressure, and it takes a lot sometimes. But I think one other word of advice I'd give is that don't count yourself out either as a caregiver. You have to set some boundaries to take time for yourself as well, because you have to balance the emotional load with the physical responsibilities. And you can't be pouring into somebody else's cup if you don't refill your own. So I mean, it's hard in the moment sometimes to carve out that time to go for a 30-minute walk, or to go do whatever it is, go into your garden, whatever it is that helps you unwind. But it is so important, because to sustain the level of care that is needed, you need to carve out some time for yourself as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And so I will say to persons like yourself, Rashid and Leslie, and my advice would be also to ask for help if needed. Remember, you do have the extended circle,
Yes.
whether you have siblings or friends. In cases where there may not be a supportive network amongst family members, try to have friends, try to get support within the community. I know the church is always a big one. I know at my church we do have seniors who don't necessarily have children or have the support
Mhm.
of a family, and so the church assumes that role. So I'm going to say ask for help. Try to get help, whether it's from your family, friends, or communities such as church or other local agencies. And I'm going to say for the caregivers as well, the children who have taken on that role, it's a balancing act. Know when you have to treat yourself, as you mentioned, Leslie Ann, before trying to pour into someone else when you are actually running on E. I'm going to give you both just a quicker 30 seconds to share your parting words with our viewers and listeners today.
I think I'm gonna go with Leslie's powerful point. Um, come from a place of love and not control. I think just that embodies how we should approach our parents as caregivers or future caregivers. And I like that. I think I need it on a t-shirt.
Yeah. It's just I would just say, remember, it's a paradigm shift for everybody involved. It's a paradigm shift for the parent. It's a paradigm shift for the adult child. So I just think it's a matter of just meeting in the middle, finding ways through empathy and connection to make the shifts that are necessary. You
All
know,
right. Thank you. Thank you both so much. Thank you for being here with us. You heard it from Leslie Ann and Rashid. So thank you so much as well to all our listeners for joining. If you have questions of a personal nature or you are concerned about a family or family member or a friend, for more information, please note that you can contact the Family Life Ministries for counselors in Kingston and other parts of the island. Please contact our head office at 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. Please note that for appointments and information on cost, you must call the office. Now, otherwise, to keep up with all that's happening, please be sure to visit our Facebook page at FLM Family Life Ministries. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries FLMJA, and on Instagram at simply FLMJA. Before we leave you for today, here is this evening's Bible verse. Philippians 4, verse 19. And my God will meet all your needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus. Please, I am your host, Tamika Scott Walters. I ask that you join us next week for another informative program. And thanks again to our special guests today, Rashid Perry and Leslie Ann Thompson. Thanks also to our show producer, Kathy Gale, and thanks to Derville Graham for piloting us through this hour. Of course, I'm your girl, Tamika. See you next time.